Let's solve another word problem together. Everyone is given the same number of colored pencils in art class. If there are 249 colored pencils and 8 students, how many pencils does each student receive? I'll read this one more time for us. Everyone is given the same number of colored pencils in art class. If there are 249 colored pencils and 8 students, how many pencils does each student receive? All right, so let's think about this problem. What I'm visualizing in my head are students in art class and a big pile of colored pencils, and the teacher wants to pass them out so that each of the students has the same number of pencils. Let's pull out some important information. First thing I have are some numbers, 249 and 8. 249 is referring to the colored pencils, and 8 is referring to how many students are in that classroom. And then I also see another important piece of information, the word same. All right? These 8 students all have to have the same number of colored pencils. And that's the question we're answering, right? How many pencils does each student receive? If we were to split these 249 colored pencils up, how much would each student get? So let's start off with a tape diagram. Here is my tape. And we know that this tape diagram is filled up with a number of colored pencils. And the number of colored pencils we have is 249. 249. Okay. And I'm splitting these 249 pencils up into 8 groups. 8 groups and those groups represent the number of students. So I can draw those. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I have my 8 groups. I don't know what's in each of these groups. But I do know that each of these groups has to have the same number, right? Because that's what the word problem told us. It said each student is giving the same number of colored pencils. So these 8 groups have to have the same number. And they're going to add all up to 249. So if we're trying to figure out how many is in each group, so we have a missing number of groups, that's a clue telling us that we need to divide. So we can take our whole number, our dividend 249, and we can divide it up by our divisor, those 8 students. And our answer will leave us with how many colored pencils each of those students will get. So go ahead and press pause. And on your whiteboard, I would like you to solve 249 divided by 8. And when you're ready, go ahead and press play and let's see what we came up with. All right, so you should have come up with a quotient of 31 with 1 remainder. So each student would receive 31 colored pencils. So let's fill that in on our tape diagram. So each student would get 31 colored pencils. But what do I do with the remainder? I'm just going to finish filling my tape in. I could show that by showing one little sliver. So we know this whole tape equals 259. So every number in here has to add up to 249. So I can make one small group with a 1 in it. So if I were to add up 31 all these 31s, or do 31 times 8 plus one more, I should get 249. Let's try that out. Let's check our work. I'm going to change my color. So I'm going to do 31, my answer, my quotient, times my divisor 8. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. And then I'm going to add on this remainder, right? Just like right here. Here's my remainder 1. And I get my dividend, 249. 249. And here it is again, 249. So I know my work is correct. If I had 249 colored pencils and I split them equally between 8 students, each student would get 31 colored pencils and I would have 1 pencil left over.